Hello and welcome to Reality Check. I'm Lou Meyer, your host, and my guest this week is Don Williams from the Vibrant Healing Center. Don, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Lou.
This is great. It's been a while.
It's been a little while, yeah. I think spring was the last time we had gotten together and talked.
And there's still a planet. Unbelievable, as it may seem. So we thought we'd sort of freeform it today, and Dr. Don has brought in a few interesting articles, one of which is in today's paper, Artificial Life Likely in 3 to 10 Years. And the article you can't see under that is, Iraqi buildup would nearly exhaust the army. So I'm thinking if we can combine kind of this with this, we can make our own clones go fight the war, and then none of our people actually have to be hurt. And coupled with the drones that don't actually have any pilots, I think we got something here.
Well, this whole thing reminds me of an old joke because they're talking about synthetic life here, and they're talking about how they're able to create life from scratch. And there's an old joke that says some scientists got together and they were able to create life. And so they decided to go and have a meeting with God and let God know that didn't need God anymore. They knew how to create life. So God says, well, that's been interesting. Tell me how you do this. And they said, well, first you take dirt. And God says, no, get your own dirt. So,
darn God, you have to always make sure that there's some place to be.
So, they're talking about scratch, but they're still using matter that had to be created from. The only thing, of course, you and I were talking about here, and what came up in my mind as they're creating this is, what about the aspect of soul? Where does soul fit in with that when you're just creating something just material and you're looking to create a life? But what's going to control that life? What is the consciousness of that life without a soul? And will it have a soul? And it brings up a lot of philosophical questions.
Not only, and if there's no soul, is there a conscience, or will the entity have intelligence and be able to go out and do whatever it wants? This is the making of a great movie that's probably already been made.
Yeah, I think it was called Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. There you go. See that?
Recall. It goes on and on.
Okay, well, since we're talking about artificial life, how about the GMOs deal?
Yeah, and we have that. Of course, we're messing with Mother Nature. When we take a pig gene and splice it into a tomato or into something, you don't know what you're doing. When things naturally mutate and evolve over years, it does it in harmony with everything else. But when you artificially do something like that, how does it fit? It's kind of like how they do with the soybeans, is that they plant all the soybeans, and what they used to do is all the weeds would grow up, and then they'd have to carefully cultivate to take out the weeds. So what they do is they've spliced in a gene that is resistant to the product like Roundup.
Uh-huh. So Roundup Ready.
So all they have to do is they don't have to cultivate. They go in, they spray it all with Roundup, the weeds die, but the soybeans stay.
But we don't actually know what's in Roundup, and my God, that's what I was doing this research quite a few years ago on pesticide use in the world. And it's phenomenal how many pounds of pesticides per human being are actually sprayed on all the plants that aren't organic. But one of the things that I learned was that there's this overspray factor where each one of those pesticides independently might be, quote unquote, FDA approved or whatever. But when you mix them together, it's a wild card. And if they do it year after year, this stuff doesn't go away. It becomes systemic in the plants. It lives in the soil. When the plants are bringing nutrients up, they're also bringing up that nasty stuff. So now you're not going to wash it off. It's going to be in the plant. Yeah. So we wonder where all these cancers are coming from and all this other nasty things that are happening to people. That could very well be.
Well, so much of the herbicides and pesticides and these type of chemicals have an estrogenic effect on a human body. So, normally we have a balance of our hormones. And so if you increase the estrogen, it leads to problems with breast cancer and other types of cancer in women, infertility in men, prostate cancer, all these type of things that, again, are lifestyle issues. And one of the other things that we were talking about is how the United States has actually declined to 42nd in life expectancy in the world population. So some of these things, these lifestyle issues, obesity, poor lifestyle choices, stress, emotional stresses, they're all killing us.
It all seems to, I don't want to go back into my issue with money, but it all seems to revolve around the money thing. And if you look at who are, well, you can't say everybody in any case, but the people that are most affected by money are people that are making the minimum wage or slightly above that. Those are also the people that can only afford to eat the junk food that contains all these harmful products that we're dealing with, including the GMOs. And then what about, all right, pig genes and tomatoes, that's totally beyond my scope of understanding. But what does that do to vegetarians? Does this mean they're going to have to come up with some law that says you have to reveal if there are pig genes in your salad? And yeah.
And it's not going to happen because the theory, of course, they say people won't buy it if they know it's GMO. Well, duh. Of course you're not going to buy it, so they won't put it on the label. It's like the irradiation of food to kill the bacteria. And they even this year was put out a report that they were going to start to introduce viruses into, of course, this is stuff that I wouldn't dare eat, but processed meat products that that go bad. But they introduced a virus in there to kill the bacteria.
The world is a crazy place. If you're not growing your own vegetables and eating them, you're asking for it.
Well, we are so fortunate here in Nevada County, here in Grass Valley, Nevada City, that we have a great co-op, brand new co-op that's like died and went to heaven, into co-op heaven. That place is just amazing. We have 2 or 3 other very good health food stores. We have our farmers markets. We have, we're very fortunate here, and especially, just being in California and then here, that we can buy a lot of stuff that's really, really good. Other places in the country don't have the advantage that we have here out in California.
No, in the world too. There's a magazine that comes out of England called The Ecologist, I think it's called. And it's been around for many, many years. But one of the things that they harp on is the fact that there used to be a local farmer. You'd go down and buy your farm goods for the week or the day or whatever from the farmer, take them home and cook them. They're very fresh. Now, everything's trucked 1,500 miles across the country, so that means refrigeration. It's not fresh, and whatever kind of contaminants can happen to them in the process of traveling them to one place to another. But also the amount of fossil fuels and everything else that are polluting the planet that are used to do the delivery.
Yeah. So it goes on. It comes layered and layered and layered and layered. And we were talking. It's all about that, and and. It's the greed that's the problem. Money's not the problem. It's greed.
Right. No, it's greed.
It's greed always, And we were talking about how those chemicals, the pesticides mix, we don't know what that's doing. It's the same thing people are doing with taking medications to control their body's functions. There's a trend in the pharmaceutical medical community of medicalizing every single lifestyle condition. They've got a medication or something to treat it or control it. But again, it's not working with the natural laws and working with getting to the causes of the problem. It's just putting a Band-Aid over it and another numbing.
Treating a symptom.
Treating the symptom and not really getting to what the cause is. And that we were talking about the life expectancy dropping. Yeah. And that's primarily because of obesity and which is associated with the lifestyle issues. Diabetes is rampant. Obesity is rampant in this country. As it says here in this one thing, this is good. They were saying, now why are so many people unhealthy? It says, well, the U.S. has the resources that allow people to get fat and lazy. We have the luxury of choosing a bad lifestyle as opposed to having one imposed on us by hard times. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the challenges is we have it so easy that we've created real problems for ourselves.
I've been recently reading the autobiography of I forget the guy's name, Woody Guthrie. Oh. And he grew up during the really hard times, and in his book he talks about that stuff as like it's a regular daily occurrence. And the things, you read stuff like a wind came through and wiped out their entire house and everything in their community. And people not being able to grow foods through droughts and things like that, and everybody would migrate to California. Everybody would just go someplace, and to him it was just he was young at the time. That was the natural way things are. Now, I mean, they're the kind of silly movies like L.A. Story and stuff where the guy hops in his car to drive to his mailbox, but it's kind of indicative of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's why I've always loved the way that Dr. Mortar, my mentor, developed the system that I practice, the bioenergetic synchronization technique. He brings it down very simply to looking at 6 essentials. And we've talked about this before. What you eat, drink, breathe. What you eat, drink, breathe, exercise, rest, and think. And those are choices we make every day. And going back to those 6 essentials, always with the understanding that our thoughts have a more profound effect on our body function than all the other 5 combined. And that's always, to me, a very profound statement, because we know how important it is to eat right, drink good fluids, get the right amount of exercise and rest, and to breathe good air, but we could overwhelm the whole thing with negative thinking.
Sure. Well, that's like The Secret or any of those other things. But all right, so let's stay on that for a second then. In your cellular, darn, I always get this terminology wrong, but cellular kind of reprogramming, that's part of that process. Yes. Changing the way you think can change the way your whole lifestyle works.
Exactly. Getting into identifying what are the subconscious interferences that are blocking the true expression. Because what happens is that these interferences, it's just like that commercial on TV about the Verizon or whatever it is. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Well, the interference, the brain is constantly communicating with the body, taking in everything from your external environment through 5 senses, evaluating the function here, and making a response for survival. But if that message is good, it's going to do the best it possibly can. And what happens too is it gets stuck. And now you're experiencing life through a filter. And more filters, and more filters. And you don't know you're experiencing life through a filter, so you think it's real.
Well, is it because you're pre-programmed through your life experience and influences by people and things?
That's the primary where it starts. We call it the mother, father, teacher, preacher programming.
Okay, there you go.
There's
a term for it.
Yeah. And that usually happens in the first 3 years of life. Most of our programming of our beliefs are programmed right there. And we're not even conscious of those things at that point.
Really. That carries on throughout your life unless you're paying attention to it or making an effort to change.
Yeah, because the beliefs, again, are what define our reality.
Well, what about this stuff where there's kind of a trick to it? Where say you have, or let's take a miraculous healing thing. You have some sort of a lump or something in your arm, and through your thought processes, you can remove that lump. But you're not supposed to think about the lump. You're supposed to think about it, about how everything's smooth and working just fine.
Exactly. You see it as you wish it to be. Dr. Mortar has a saying that you'll never get anything unless you want it. But you'll never get it if you only want it.
Oh, it's always going to be in the future or something.
All you'll get is more want. So what you have to do is make that next step, identify what you want, no matter what it is, whether it's a quality or a thing, and then again give thanks as if you've already received it.
So you're actually in your mind, you're picturing the situation as if it exists now.
Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between a dream and reality. So if you visualize with feeling, because that's how the subconscious mind works, what you picture with feeling is what gets stored in the subconscious. So that's why visualization and affirmations are so powerful, because we can even reprogram the past.
Oh, because it's already over, so you can picture in your mind a different past? Interesting.
Absolutely. Again, your key is, as you said, you have to be aware, you have to be conscious and think about what you think about when you think about it, and be aware of how those thoughts feel.
It's kind of like the be here now concept of Buddhism, but at the same, you're not just, well, yeah, it's all of the package. You're observing your thoughts, you're consciously having the thoughts, and you're observing how you physically feel in response to that.
Yeah, because ultimately we want to live in a state of love. And the thing about love, of course, it has infinite flavors and infinite forms. So it can look a lot of different ways, but ultimately that's that law of attraction. Love is the attractive force. Hate is what separates us. So again, those filters that we talked about separate us from what is real.